The average American has almost $6,000 in credit card debt, $24,000 in car debt, and an additional $25,000 in student loans. By implementing a few simple principles, I will show you how I went from $65,000 in debt to a net worth in the hundreds of thousands through financial minimalism. Step 1 is to save up an emergency fund. The reason you do this is because your bank account is never going to go over this amount until you are debt free. You want to feel that pressure, but you also want to be protected if something were to happen to your car, a medical emergency, or something else. The easiest way I have found to do this is by becoming a financial minimalist. This means cutting back on all daily nonsense purchases, new clothes, new gadgets and gizmos, and eating out. Also cutting back on subscriptions and just choosing to live a more minimalist lifestyle. Once you start living like this, you will slowly begin to realize that you do not miss doing any of those things and that most of those were habits that made you deeply unfulfilled and stressed out. The second thing is to start a side hustle. In my opinion, this is one of the most fun and most important things. When I first left college, my first job paid me $32,000, $30,000 after you count the cost of parking. And with the current economy and rising costs, developing a side hustle feels almost like a necessity if you want to get this journey going a lot quicker. Just make sure it's something that you actually love. Time is fleeting and you owe it to yourself the opportunity to see your dreams through. So find a side hustle that can make you money, but you also enjoy. This is my side hustle that you're watching. I love making videos. I have a wedding business on the side and I also make YouTube videos. I basically lose money every single month making YouTube videos. And whether or not you make a bunch of money off the hobby that you're doing, just make sure it's something that you love. I love making movies. I wouldn't give this up for the world. It's my favorite thing to do. I spend all of my free time that I'm not spending with my family making movies. I love it. It's the most important thing to me. And I think that you have to find that. It's probably not making movies, but just find something. I know some people who just love to cut the grass. Just do that if that's what it is. Just find that thing that you love because that'll make it way more fun and a lot easier to get up early and work on it. Look, if you want to live an extraordinary life or a better life, you have to live in a better, different, and extraordinary way. If you do what everybody else is doing, you're going to live like everybody else. You have to live differently, and you have to be willing to live differently. There's going to be a lot of sacrifice. There's going to be some nights where you don't sleep as much. You're not going to have the nicest stuff for a while, and you're not going to go to the best vacations, go to the nicest restaurants, eat the nicest food, and your peers will objectively be living better lives than you. However, this is only a temporary situation, and in just a few years, you're going to be debt-free, and you'll be living a materially better life. You'll sort of realize that those things will not buy you happiness, but through it all, you will have reduced the burden of finances and the stress that can come along with that. So start a side hustle. I don't even want to hear that you don't have time to do it because I wake up at 5 a.m. I have 2 kids. I have a wife. I have a full-time 9-to-5 job. I work out for almost 2 hours every single day, and I find plenty of time to make YouTube videos and plenty of time to film weddings. So if I can do it, you can do it. There's no excuse. Yes, sometimes I don't get to sleep as much as I'd like, but that's life. So now that you have your emergency fund, you are starting to cut back on the dumb purchases and living a more minimalist lifestyle. Now is the hard part, paying off your debt. Looking up at that mountain for the first time might seem impossible, but every journey begins with the first step. I remember when my wife and I wrote down that we had $65,000 in debt, and I thought we would never pay it off. And here we are 5 years later, completely debt-free. So I was looking back through some old videos and photos for this video, and I found this photo right here. And this was a whiteboard my wife and I put up in our bedroom that we put next to our bed. So every morning we would wake up and we would see how much debt we had and how much progress we had made. Every Friday when we would get a paycheck, we would go in there and cross off however much money we were able to pay off that day, and the number just slowly started to go down. $500, $1,000, $200, just whenever we could, we would. Now that you have the side hustle making you a little bit more money each month, it should be a little bit easier. Obviously, it's a big thing. It took my wife and I a couple years to pay off all the debt that we had, but once you just get into it, you realize that you just make a little bit of progress each day, and it really starts to stack up. There are a couple different ways to do this. The mathematically most correct one is to pay off the loans with the highest interest rate first, but we are humans and not robots, so I would personally suggest implementing the debt snowball, which is paying off the smallest loan first to build momentum. For most people, this is a phone or a credit card, and then from there, you pay off all of your loans, credit cards, cars, etc., besides your home, from smallest to largest. And then never use any of those as a means to purchase anything ever again. The only caveat with credit cards is if you really believe you don't spend more money, which I personally don't, but if you really believe you don't spend more money on credit cards and you just want to get the points, I think it's fine. I think that's something that you have to be honest with yourself. Try the credit card method 1 month, try the envelope method 1 month, and see how much money you spend. If the dollar amounts are basically the exact same, then I would suggest sticking with the credit card because you get 1 to 3% cash back, and that's definitely worth it. The next step is that you need to start to invest the extra money that you were putting towards paying off debt. This is my favorite part because this is when your net worth actually starts to build. And on a side note, I would personally suggest tracking your net worth each month. This includes your investment accounts, plus potentially your home, your cars, and any savings account / cash that you have. Here's the mandatory disclaimer. This is not investing advice. This is what I have done and what I have found some success in, but I'm only 28 years old and I'm not a financial expert. So let me introduce you to the principle of compounding interest. And there is no greater math equation in the world than this. Let's say you have $1,000 that you invest, and in year 1, you earn 10% on that, which means at the end of year 1, you have $1,100. And that $1,100 begins to invest in year 2 again. And let's say you earn another 10%. Not only do you make the $100 off the initial $1,000 that you invested, but you also make an additional $10 off of year 1's interest of $100. As you can see, this gets really crazy really quick. The best way to illustrate this is if a 20-year-old were to invest $10,000 and never touch it again over the next 47 years, and that investment account earns an average rate of return of 10% interest year over year. And for reference, the S&P 500 has averaged a rate of return of 9.9% since 1928. At the end of the 47th year, that $10,000 would be $1,078,266. But the thing to remember is that when he was 25 years in, more than half, that number was only $120,569. Real wealth is built over decades, not days. If you look at anybody that has any type of wealth, it's built over decades, not days. So you need to be patient and you need to be willing to sacrifice. So make sure you are not falling for any get-rich-quick schemes, anybody that tells you can make this much money in a day, in a week, in a month, whatever it is. It's all garbage, it's all crap. People who make the most money during the gold rush are not the people mining the gold, it's the people selling them the shovels. At the moment, the breakdown of how we invest is we have 6% going to our 401k. The reason for that is because we get the company match. You should always do the company match. It's the quickest way to make money. Put in 6% and receive a 3% match. You basically are making 50% of your money every single time you invest because you get the 3% match on top of the 6% that you're already investing. Beyond that, the way we invest, the bulk of our money actually gets invested by me into an index fund, Fidelity's Total Market Index Fund. Do your own research on this. The reason we do that is because I don't want to buy individual stocks. I want to be able to basically buy the market and just follow the trends of the market as opposed to buying an Apple or a Disney and having to deal with their ups and downs as a singular individual company. Your investing strategy is going to be a lot different. My wife and I both work, so we can be a lot more aggressive with our investing. If you are somebody that owns your own company or you're a freelancer and the money doesn't come in as consistently as a paycheck, you might want to consider investing a little bit less, saving a little bit more. I know a lot of people will save a 6 to 12 month emergency fund. I think that's a good idea. My wife and I keep it a little bit closer to 3 to 4 months just because we invest a lot heavier right now. Things change, the way people invest change. So basically just make sure that you're not buying individual stocks or a singular entity that somebody tells you is going to make you $1 billion, because fun fact, they never do. And understand that this is going to be hard for a few years. And a lot of people are going to tell you to just enjoy life, live in the moment, spend some money. But just because you aren't, quote, living in the moment does not mean you are not enjoying life. Spending money on a new TV or nice clothes or fancy vacation or a nice dinner will not bring you joy. Dancing with your daughter, holding your newborn, life is about far more than money. If every decision I made was just strictly a numbers financial one, I wouldn't have had kids. I have 2 kids. I want 6. I love kids. Kids are better than money. I can promise you that. So at the end of the day, just remember that when you're doing this, you need to stop and smell the roses sometimes. If you live this lifestyle for too long, it will burn you out. Trust me, I have been there. This is not worshiping at the altar of money. This is not serving money for the purpose of having more of it. It's just being able to move past money, getting to a point where you don't really have to worry about it too much anymore. Yeah, you still have to have your job. You can't go buy the super nice cars. You can't go on the crazy vacations, whatever it may be. What it is simply, it's just about moving past money, being able to live past it and being able to live a better life because of it. But there's only one way really to make this life work. You have to find your why. You have to find the reason you're going to do it every single morning, the reason you're gonna wake up, the reason you're gonna turn on that computer to work on your side hustle, the reason you're gonna grind. You have to have a why. For me, I have 2 kids and a wife. That's my why. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, hit like and subscribe. Bye.